Well, for more on that, we're joined now by Ronan Lee. He is a doctoral prize fellow at Loughborough University. He joins us from London. Welcome to the programme. So 6 years on since the military crackdown against the Rohingya community in Myanmar, and still no justice for them. Why is that? Because the UN described it as an operation with genocidal intent. We heard also back then the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights had called it a textbook example of ethnic cleansing, and nothing's changed 6 years on.
Well, it's about political will. It's about the key members of the UN Security Council wanting to take the actions that would ensure the Rohingya could receive some justice for what was done to them and could safely return home to Myanmar. Returning home to Myanmar for the Rohingya realistically has to involve regime change within Myanmar. There's been a coup in that country. The military that genocidally deported them in 2017 is now the government of Myanmar, is claiming to be the government of Myanmar and controls large parts of the country. That is a worse situation for the Rohingya than they faced within Myanmar in 2017. So it's not safe for them to return home. They want to return to their ancestral lands. I've seen today Rohingya posting things on social media and through WhatsApp with comments like "hope is home." They want to return home, but they want to return home knowing that it's going to be safe for them. And when a genocidal military junta is in power in Myanmar, it's simply not going to be safe for them to return home to that country, and they're left languishing in refugee camps within Bangladesh. So really, it's up to the international community, that those who have talked tough on human rights and who have called for change within Myanmar, to take the steps that are necessary to ensure that there's the regime change in that country that can open the door for a safe Rohingya return to Myanmar.
And Ronan, you mentioned political will, and the special rapporteur on the situation in Myanmar, Tom Andrews, he's called political will a deadly paralysis of indifference. What is driving that? Why aren't they moving? Why is the UN Security Council that you mentioned not doing anything?
Well, I think there's a perception that they don't want to get involved. I mean, that's really what it is. China, who's the major player in the region, is more than comfortable to see they're selling arms to the junta, so they're more than happy with the military in power within Myanmar. And others, I think the US, which has talked tough on human rights, the UK and EU countries, I think are reluctant to engage in the sorts of actions that are going to be necessary to remove the military from power. Now, I think we have seen some progress recently. The US just this week has made a decision to sanction the sale of aviation fuel to the junta within Myanmar. That's a really important step. I mean, air superiority within Myanmar has been one of the things that's enabled the military junta to stay in power. But now it's up to others to follow that lead, to make sure that aviation fuel isn't available to the Myanmar junta. And the next step, of course, has to be a global arms embargo. It should be impossible for a genocidal military that we know has genocidally deported the Rohingya, as we've seen in 2017, and is now turning that violence on the population at large within Myanmar. It beggars belief that they should be able to continue buying weapons, guns and bullets that they're going to turn on civilians within their country. So there needs to now be a global arms embargo. And that's up to the UN Security Council to impose that. And they need to show some leadership and put this to a vote at the Security Council. If China and Russia want to continue selling weapons to the junta and want to veto that, well, that's on them. But I think it's up to others to actually step this up and to demonstrate that there is the political will to stop the Myanmar junta being able to buy the arms that keeps them in power, and that is preventing the Rohingya from having any meaningful opportunity to return home in safety.
Ronan Lee, speaking to us from Loughborough University, thank you so much for your analysis on this subject. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.